Hello, dear children. I hope everyone watching this video today are all safe and sound, and also hope that you all are maintaining the requisite social distancing and taking all the necessary safety steps. Now, we cannot miss school lessons on a regular basis, can we? Hence, today I am back with another topic from your first flight text. The lesson that we are going to deal with today is titled The Sermon at Benares. What do you think a sermon is? Well, let me tell you. A sermon is a talk on a religious or moral subject, usually expounding on a type of belief, law, or behavior within both past and present context. Here, expounding also means presenting. The sermon word comes from a Middle English word which was derived from Old French, which in turn originates from the Latin word sermon meaning discourse. So discourse again means a talk, a conversation, or a debate. The sermon at Benares revolves around the life of Siddhartha Gautama, who was a teacher, philosopher, and spiritual leader, and also the one who is considered the founder of Buddhism. Now let me narrate the story for you. Once upon a time, in the happy kingdom of Kapilavastu, King Suddhodana and his queen Mahamaya were going to have a baby. The queen decided to go to her father's house for confinement. However, on the way when they came to Lumbini garden, she gave birth to a beautiful prince. She then returned back to Kapilavastu, where 5 wise men, on the request of the king, named the young prince Siddhartha, meaning the one whose wishes will be fulfilled. Soon after his birth, a sage by the name of Asita predicted that this noble prince was destined to live his life as a saint by abdicating his throne and giving up all worldly pleasures. His parents were shattered by the news and decided to prevent this from happening by keeping a close watch on him and sheltering him from the outside world. Both the king and his queen did that with the hope that Siddhartha would get used to the luxuries of the palace and never give up. Sadly, 7 days later, the queen died, and Siddhartha was brought up by his mother's younger sister, Maha Prajapati, whom the king was also married to. Time passed by, and at the age of 16, Siddhartha was married to Yashodhara. Siddhartha's curiosity grew with age, and one day he asked the charioteer, Channa, to take him on a tour of the city. He was 25 years of age then. For the first time in his life, he actually came face to face with the sufferings of the world. He chanced upon a sick man who was in great pain. Next, he came across an old man who seemed weak and frail. His friend the charioteer explained that along with age comes weakness and failing health. Then he came across a funeral procession whereby the people were carrying a dead body to the cremation ground. "What is that, Channa, which resembles a man but looks more like a log?" Channa then said, "That was once a man, but death has come to claim him. Only his body remains. Death will come for all of us, rich or poor, well or ill, young as well as old? Siddhartha asked. Even for my newborn son? Yes, my lord. He too will lie like that one day. The prince closed his eyes and covered his ears. But a bomb had burst in the depth of his consciousness, and everything around him seemed edged with his morality. At the end of the tour, the fourth sight arrested him. A man seated by the roadside with eyes closed, his body upright and still. Channa, what kind of a man is that? Is he dead too? He asked. No, said Channa. He is a bhikshu who has left all his worldly possessions in search of inner peace. When the body seems dead, but the spirit is awake, that is what is called yoga. These sights so moved him that he became deeply troubled and decided to give up his palace and palatial life in order to seek answers to all his questions about life and death. He felt this urge to search for the great way of liberation and save all sentient beings from the cycle of birth and death. Hence, he left his palace on a white horse for good. He came to a forest at the foot of a snowy mountain, and there he practiced asceticism. For 7 long years, he endured all form of ascetic practice until he finally realized that the middle path was the answer. After trying different ways to find the path of truth, he finally reached the city of Bodh Gaya and started meditating under a large peepal tree or the Bodhi tree. After 49 days of meditation at the age of 35, he attained enlightenment and was known as Buddha or the Awakened One. He wanted to spread dharma and free all sentient beings from the sea of samsara. In Sanskrit, it means wandering. Life should be valued as nothing is more honorable than life itself. Whatever the hierarchy, every person has an inner self that can shine forth. Hence, we should not look down upon ourselves nor others, as one does not become distinguished by one's birth but by one's behavior. Since enlightenment, he showed his disciples the noble truth, that is, the world is full of suffering and misery. Desire is the main cause of all suffering and misery. Suffering and misery can be abolished by removing desire. Desire can be overcome by following the noble eightfold path. Namely, number 1, right understanding. 2, right thoughts. 3, right speech. 4, right action. 5, right livelihood. 6, right efforts. 7, right mindfulness. And 8, right meditation. At the age of 80, between a pair of sal trees, he entered nirvana.
Then turned onto his right side and placed his right hand under his head. He closed his eyes and very peacefully passed away. It was the full moon day of the 4th month.
Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami Sangam Sharanam Gacchami.
His birthday is celebrated as Buddha Jayanti, and Bodhi tree is worshipped as the symbol of enlightenment even today. During Buddha's time, there lived a woman named Siddhartha Gautama. Children, let me sum up this story in the form of a poem that I came across while surfing the net. It is short but covers the entire story beautifully. This poem has been written by someone by the name of Nick Cave. Please listen to it carefully. Kisa and the mustard seed. Kisa had a baby, but the baby died. Goes to the villagers, says, "My baby is sick." The villagers shake their heads and say to her, "Better bury your baby in forest quick." So in this stanza, we are introduced to this lady called Kisa, who has a baby but the baby is dead. So out of grief, she runs around the village and requests the villagers to save her only child. The villagers are helpless, so instead they ask her to go to the forest and bury her child. But then if you look at the picture, you get to see a man who suggests her to go to the mountains and meet the Buddha, for he feels that he may be able to help her out. Kisa went to the mountain to ask the Buddha, "My baby is sick." Buddha said, "Don't cry. Go to each house and collect a mustard seed, but only from a house where no one has died." So in the second stanza, we again get to see Kisa, but this time she is walking up the mountain to meet the Buddha. So when she sees him, she cries in front of him and says that her baby is sick and requests him to give him back his life. To which Buddha says that he will do that, but only if she collects mustard seed and brings it to him. But he says that she needs to collect mustard seed from a house who's never had a death before. Kisa went to each house in the village. "My baby's getting sicker," poor Kisa cried. But Kisa never collected one mustard seed because in every house someone had died. So here we get to see Kisa, who's gone back to the village, and she's crying and asking people to give her mustard seed as her baby's getting sicker. But she's not been able to collect even a single mustard seed because every house has had the experience of death in the family. Kisa sat down in an old village square. She hugged her baby and cried and cried and cried. She said, "Everybody is always losing somebody." Then walked into the forest and buried her child. So what Kisa learned from this incident is that there is no one in the world who has never lost a family member to death. She now understood that death is an inevitable and a natural part of life. So she puts aside her grief, buries her son in the forest, and returns to the Buddha to become his follower. This story is the source of the popular aphorism, "The living are few, but the dead are many." So dear children, with this we come to the end of this lesson. I hope you all enjoyed the narration and understood the story. I wish you all a safe stay at home. Thank you and have a good day.